I tested positively toward negative, right? So, no, I tested perfectly this morning. Meaning I tested negative.
We've never had an empty seat, and we certainly won't in Oklahoma.
Which is your favorite Trump child, and why is it Ivanka?
The wise guy over here. So I'm going to take a pass on Abe, Honest Abe, as we call him.
By the way, they love African-American people. They love black people. MAGA loved the black people.
She has racked up tens of millions of views on YouTube and on TikTok thanks to her genius production of Donald J. Trump in his very own words. Joining us now, comedian and best-selling author of 100 Tricks to Appear Smart in Meetings and How to Be Successful Without Hurting Men's Feelings, Sarah Cooper is here with us. You have to know this by now. I'm like one of those giant fans that if you ever saw me at Costco, you'd take that big, heavy cart down the opposite aisle. I have to ask you, though, how is it to have Trump in your head?
Well, first of all, I have to thank you for mentioning me. Every time you mention me, I get a text from an aunt or a cousin or my mom saying Nicole Wallace mentioned you. And so it's been great. I have to say that it's been kind of inspiring, and I think everyone should be a little inspired by Donald Trump. If there's something that you think you can't do, just remember, Donald Trump is the president of the United States, and that should just make you realize anything is possible. I've kind of been inspired by his confidence because I have this thing called imposter syndrome where it's where you are a woman and you basically just second guess everything that you say. I have this little voice in my head that's always like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do this, which is basically the opposite of the voice inside Donald Trump's head. The voice in his head is like, you're the smartest person here, you're smarter than the generals and the scientists and the doctors, and it's just like, I feel like I'm getting just a little bit of that confidence that I wish more women had and I wish I had. And so I think it's been just kind of fun and exhilarating because I'm just envious of his abilities to sort of just BS his way through life and make it to be the most powerful man in the world.
It's such a good point. I mean, and it is sort of the state of being female, right? Like, oh, I need a raise, but that would be too much. I'm just going to ask for this much. And there he is like, oh, I can be the leader of the free world and I don't read books. I mean, I want to ask you about your artistry. I mean, I was reading about Tracy Ullman and I mean, it's not just you as Donald Trump. I mean, all of the supporting actors in your videos are just as brilliant and you are as them exactly as I would imagine, a reporter sitting there as he's giving his idiotic pronouncements. What do you think of after playing both sides of those?
Well, it's interesting because it's playing the subtext of Donald Trump and it's showing how confused he is or how he really doesn't want to say he tested negative because that would mean that's something bad about him. Or maybe he just doesn't understand that negative is good in that instance. But then it's also the subtext of the people in the room. And so, when he says, you're going to test that, right? And I'm like, me? I'm thinking that's what Dr. Birx might have been feeling. She was kind of just trying to hide her head, but maybe inside that's what she was feeling. And I think a lot of the reporters, that's what they're experiencing is this need to be like, what did you just say? That made no sense at all, but they're not allowed to say that. And it's very much like the corporate world in that we are taught to be very polite and say, that's a really good idea. Let's put a pin in that, which basically just means that's a terrible idea. So we have all of these cues that we use, and I'm just kind of ripping those things away.
How do you, I love too that you have standards. I mean, I read this in Vanity Fair that there are some of his things that are too cruel for you. I mean, you have higher standards for what you won't do than he does. When do you hear something and think, oh, I have to go kind of stick my hands in that and see what I can do with that?
Well, I think, he is such a prolific writer. He's such a prolific content creator. It's very frustrating. It's almost like if you were an actress and you just got handed a new script every hour and you weren't even done with the script from before, but now you have a new one. And I'm still stuck on what he said. I think it was last Thursday about how there are many exciting things he's going to be announcing in the next 8 weeks, things that no one's ever contemplated, thought about, thought possible. He's going to have a lot of detailed thoughts on many aspects of things. And I just love the useless words. And I think that I love pointing out that all of these words are so meaningless, and he's just sort of pulling them out of the air. And it's kind of my ability to take his improv, which is just making things up on the fly, and then turn it into a sketch, which is like a story that tells a story about the fact that he really has no idea what he's talking about.
So I worked for another politician that sometimes wasn't sure exactly what she was talking about. And Tina Fey created pretty iconic comedy using Sarah Palin's own words. And I just wonder if you have any sense of sort of your import. I mean, you have become this iconic figure of this political moment. And I think everybody that covers it would assert that that is a fact. And I know that you know that even some Trump supporters are greatly amused and entertained by what you do. Do you, I mean, and I think it also underscores a really important political point that we try too hard in politics. We try to come up with a fancy ad. Trump is the best weapon against Trump.
Yeah, he is the punchline. We've been trying very hard to heighten his antics, but there's no heightening what he's already created. And it is a lot like Tina Fey and Sarah Palin. And I think that, for me, over the past 3.5 years, I've checked in and out of politics as it's gotten frustrating and angering. I've gone in and out and not been able to deal with it and put it aside. And I'm hoping that people who have checked out maybe check back in, because we do have an election coming up, many important elections, actually. And so I'm hoping that people who see my videos realize, hey, we really need to try to get this guy out of office. And he's doing a lot of damage, and he would actually do a lot more good if he wasn't in the White House.
And he would continue to create content, no doubt. Any spoiler alerts about what you're working on next?
I can't give anything away, but there are some big, huge things coming up. And if you read the comments on any of my tweets or my YouTube videos, you'll see people predicting, and some of them are right. So that's just a little bit of hint.
All right. I love it. The art of the tease. Sarah Cooper, I'm a huge fan. Thank you so much for what you do. You provide some much needed levity and make us laugh at all of ourselves. I think we all see ourselves a little bit in some of the reactions to the things he says because of their just incredibleness. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.